So for the date time module, as similar, you have to first import the date and time. This is a whole library of date time. You can also import it separately. Okay, so import the date and time, and then you can just write date time, or you can write now. Current time. Okay, so this will be the current time. If you write here, like, so you will be getting the current time now. It's 9:32. So you can see like the date also and the time also has been printed out. Okay, so here we have imported the date time module using the import this name, right? And one of the classes is defined in this date time, that is your date time, right? And when you use this now one, right, it is used to create the date time object containing the date and the current time or the date, you can say. Okay. All right. So for like you can also get the only current time instead of getting the current time. You can also get the current date even. Okay. So like if you want to just get the current date. So for there you have to import the things again. And for this time you only want the current date, right? So you will not be taking the date time module whole. From the date time you will be only taking the date dot now. That's it. Oh, sorry, not now. It's for the time date dot today. Okay, and we'll just run this. So you'll get the current date over there. Okay. Now, using today, what you can do, you can go with a method which is defined in the date, right? To get the classes and all those things with this. Okay, you can also see like the directory, right? What inside the date time if you want. Okay, so we use a dir function. This is dir. We use this function to get a list of all containing attributes of a module. We use this, we get everything like whatever inside it, in, out, the current time, current date, date time, exit, and all these things, right? Understood? So these are all included actually. Okay, like this you go. Also, if you just say this is your import date type, you want to print the total directory of this date time. You'll get some max year, mean year, bulletins, cached, and all these things, right? So these are all the attributes of this date time. Mostly use the date time, this is the time delta, time zone. These are mostly used. Okay. So common, if you go with the common one, these are the common classes. So date time dot date class, when you initiate this date objects from the date, like whatever we have done here, like date time dot date of today. So a date of first year will come, then a month will come, and then a day will come. Okay. So you can also represent it just by, if you write if you just write this, you can also get it by that, right? First you write the year, then the month, and then the day you will be getting, right? So if you are wondering the date in the above example what I have given, right? So you can go with that also. Even what you can do, because this is a whole library as I said, from this date time you can import, from this date time you can import the date itself, okay? And then you can only say you want to print the date of 2028 and 11, okay? So like you have a lot of things to go on, okay? Now like for the current date, if I say this is date dot today, so I can manually print it like this, right? Okay, there are a lot of attributes. We'll go, will this give you an idea how many attributes are there, how you can make it, okay? So you can get some timestamp from the states, right? Timestamps are something like you write all the timestamps and then you get some date from there, right? So timestamps, if you say, that are nothing but the number of seconds between a particular date and like it's defined for UTC, like for the January 1, 1970. So every time when you go for a timestamp, it will be the number of seconds between a particular date and January 1, 1970 at UTC. Okay, so you can convert any timestamp using this from timestamp data. Let me give you idea. So let's say timestamp from this timestamp, and let's write something. Okay, so this is the number of seconds I have written. Okay, just like, okay. So whenever I will print this TS, what will happen? This number of seconds will be detected from 1 January 1970, and it will tell the correct date, right? After detecting it from the 1970, you will be getting something there, right? If you write on year out of range, so that depends how you write, you will get some values, right? That is the number of seconds. Again, I'm saying this is the number of timestamp. Cool. Okay. So like this is you can do with that. Okay. Now only, let's say only you want like for the day or something like that. You don't want to print the whole year, or like you don't want to print the whole date, you just want to print this 9 and like that, right? What you can do, that is, you can take today, and here you can take your date, right? And then you can just like, you can write from this date or from this today, you want the year, so that will be the year particularly, right? From this today you want the month, this is month, the day, like that. You can bring it on, right? From the library first you take, and then you can take it anywhere else. Okay, so a time object initiated from the time will represent, like will be using now local times and all. Okay, so that will be representing the local times. Okay, so a time is something where you import time, and you take it from the date time. Okay, like we imported date, similarly. So from the date time, import the time, right? Now, time is something where you have the parameters as like r equals to something what you write, say 12, the minute equals to something what you write, seconds equals to 20, something whatever you say. Okay, so like this is the format actually. Okay, so if you run this, you'll be getting some second, sorry, second. So when you run this, you get something as time, date time dot time of 12, 34, and 56 exactly, right? So that is actually the process of how you write the things. Okay, but we'll be writing as, let's say this is x, and we'll pass this time to this, and we'll print the x. We can see now the time is 0000. All thing is 0. Okay, because we haven't initialized anything. Okay, we haven't said in what time I want. Now let's say this is y, and I'm giving time, but in place I'll be giving 9, 43, 8. I'll print in y. It's 44. It's 9:44, 20, right? Understood? You can write like that. Even what you can do is, you can pass on, like, let's say, you can say like this is r, and this is 11. This is and like the seconds, any value, right? So okay, this is second. When you see your x, you will get some things, right? You don't take it as print on the x. So the values you will be getting. Okay, I think you have understood, right? Similarly, there is one more parameter. If you want to pass on this parameter too. So like let's give 9 per minute. Let's give 45 for second. Let's say it's 30, and there is one microseconds. Okay, so let's give it 234, 23. So this is like how it get printed on that 9, 45, 30, and some microseconds over there. Okay, Like this you get out things. Like for the day, like for the you can say the date, we took the month, the year, and the day individually from the date module. Similarly, we can take it from the time too. Like, okay, and from here, let's say this is today. Okay. Now this is like today, right? Just 9:46:30 and 7653. Nice. So for getting the number of hours, what you'll say today dot PR. Similarly, the minute. Okay. So we haven't like even if you don't pass the microsecond, right? Even if you don't pass the microsecond, you will get a value of 0. Like say you write as time. You'll get it as 0. Okay, if you don't pass things, right? That is so. Like if we combine the date and time, right? If we just take from this date time, if we combine up the things, so like what date time give you actually in the very first statement when you see what it gives you the year, then the month, the day, then the hour, then the minute, then the second, and then the microsecond. Combine of all those things, right? So we will also combine these things, right? We'll say this to be date time. It's 8, 11. So this is, if you see, we are writing this. So it is saying like you haven't written any time there. So you can even define the times and all those, right? If you say a equals to date time and let's say 2020, the 8, 11, and let's say like for the this is the date done. Now the time is 9:50 and let's say to be 23 and something more, right? Then print your A. So you have got your the dates, the months, like for the year, month, and the day, the hour, the minute, and the second, and the microsecond even. Okay. Here, if you pass on the things, you will get one by one all those things, right? From here, you can get everything. Okay, like the year, the month, the hour. From here, you can easily get the hour, the minute, the seconds, the timestamp, as well. Okay, so you can get all these things. Okay, so timestamp. Okay, pass on the function with this. So this is the timestamp, like the number of seconds you are taking. Or if you just apply this, you will get the exact date as for today you are getting. Okay, that is how it works, right? So you can also like find the difference between two dates, right? You can find those things, the difference between the two dates. Okay, how you get this? That is the uses of time delta. Okay, so we use time delta. Okay, so time delta, if we just say on to use this time delta. Okay, so time delta particular represent the difference between the two dates and the times, if you want, like for the particularly it go with the times and the dates, both of them. Okay, so you can like take it as date time, and you can import the time and the date manually. Okay, that you can do. Now let's say this is t1 and this is date. Let's say we are giving year as 2020 and you're giving month as 8 and you're giving day as 11. Okay, similarly let's say this is t2. Here too, let's take you are giving year as 2020, you are giving month as 8 itself, or let's say 10, you're giving day as 11, right? So if I just calculate the days, right, so that will be the t1 minus sorry, the t2 minus the t1, and if I just print my day, so it will be 61 days and nothing time has not been there, right? So time is not there, so no time is there, right? So you can also write for the time if you want, like if you want to write on the times. So what you can do is you can make it some more, like you can define your hour. Let's say it's 9 minute as 54, second as 60, micro. So don't define microseconds. So on you do want to define, you can. It's 12, 47, 45. Second must be in 0 to, oh, so like this you are getting that 61 days, and the time is what you are getting, the time difference between this time, that 11:09, that is exactly the 9:54:48, and the 12:37:45 is 2 hours 42 minutes and 57 seconds. Okay, so like this you can just get on the things over. Okay, you can calculate the time, you can calculate the date if you want. Okay, now like if you want the negative time things, if you have something in the negative section, there you use time delta. Okay, that gives you things in the negative sections too, right? Let's say you are saying that from date time import time delta. Okay, and you say this t1 to be the time delta, and the seconds you are saying is to be, let's say, 56. Okay, this is t2 and this is again a time delta, and we're taking some seconds, and let's say this to be 43, 34, anything. So let's say x is equals to t1 minus t2, or let's say t2 minus 2. Okay, if we do t1 minus t2, and we give y equals to t2 minus t1. So if we just print on the x, will be only 22 seconds, right? But similar for the y, will be minus 1 day and then the time you are getting, right? Understood? So this will be the output actually. When you run for the y will be t2 minus t1, that is 34 seconds minus the 56 seconds. There you will get minus 1 day, and like the seconds will be in negative, so we'll be getting some 1 day time there also, like after detecting the seconds from there. So you can find the sum of two dates, that's by using the plus operators and like that. Okay, so there are things like str of time and those things. So that is particularly a method defined under the str of time for the date time, times and all. Okay, you can go with that just by writing it. Okay, like there are some attributes like percentage y stands for the year, percentage m for the month, model is d for day, h for minute. So there are a lot of you can say formats. Okay, so just let's take one format. Okay, so let's say this is now and this is time dot now.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, in that cell number 48, that x1, it is okay. That t1 minus t2, it will be 22. But in y, that t2 minus t1 y minus 1 day, that I could not
Because you are subtracting, you're subtracting something negative, right? That is 34 seconds, and 34 second will be subtracted, right? You want to subtract 56 second from this 34 second. So when you go with like these things like subtracting something negative, okay, so there what comes, it will not take in a positive manner, because a negative will be taken as like, if it is, let's say if it is 260 something like that, right? So if it is greater than this number, right, greater than the number what you are subtracting, right? So like if you want to subtract something greater than this, then it will take some negative values, right? If it is greater than the number itself, like for minus 1 day or like that. Understood?
Okay, sir.
So this now str of time will give the hour, the minute, and the seconds. So let's say this is the time, the t. So error. This is t. This we have done, right? The time, if we want to make it printed out in a separate manner. Now it depends on you in which format you want. You want the like this, you can also go with that. So it's 9:59:59. Whoa, cool, that's nice. Okay, so that is very nice. It can go to 10 and 0 5. Okay, so you have different methods if you want to print, like you can also go with this now dot str of time, and you can say it like percentage m, percentage d, percentage y, percentage h, percentage m. So this capital M, small m, and all these have different type of formats actually. These all stands for different things. You can see the what you are getting is the month actually, the day, the month, and the year. So in different formats, right? So the day, month, and the year. Then the sorry, that should be percent. So like you are getting the seconds, the your day, time, month, and all this, right? You're getting like that. So yeah, you have different formats how you can run on this. You can even write it as a slash, and you can get like 8, 11, 12, 20, and like so, right? So there are some things which you can work on. Okay, okay. So like that is the str of time. Now there is one strp of time. This method is used to create some date time within the times. So the only difference is, if you go with the difference, the only difference is this str of time will take only one argument or only one parameter. You can say only one argument it takes, right? strp of time will take two. Okay. So let's just say that this is the date. Okay, and we are taking this, and this is like always in a given string format. So the date is 8 August 2020. Okay, this is the date, and we are printing the current date is equals to, so current date is equals to d. Keyword can't be an expression like this. Okay, so current date is 8th August 2020, exactly correct, right? So but this thing itself, if you want to like get it printed over there, right, how you will get it? So let's say from this date time dot strp of type, you're taking this current date, or let's say you are taking this d, right? And now you are taking some formats over there, like you are taking this first d, you are taking this percent b, you are taking this percent y. Okay, so when you just run this, so let's say this d1, so this not matched with the things. Okay, so we go with the d1. So we'll find that this is okay. Let's just print this. You'll find it as 20, 28, 8. Okay, like because we have written 8 August 2020, so you'll get 20 your as the year, and then the month and the date also as 8 and 8, and the time is 0, right? Because we haven't defined any times over there, so that will be cool, that will be 0 over there, right? This is how it works. Now you can also define strp of time, and you can give all those things, right? So, like if you want to get a local time of any other places, right? Like any different places, so you can get that too, right? Remember the things, right? For that, you will have to go in the time zone. Okay, the time zone will give you, and there you have a module called as pytz. Okay, which it says as okay. So, for getting a time zone, that is like handling some time zones. So you go with the time, date time particularly, and you import this date time, also you bring this PYTZ. Okay, right. So like after bringing this, now you can define what time you want. Like you want local time, so take it as datetime dot now and print it as the local time is equals to your local underscore, we'll say only the local, and then give him the str of time. You can give directly the local, right? And let's just define the things like this. Okay, and you can just run this, so you can see the local time is like 8 11 11 and 10 6 56. This is the time, right? But let's say you want to find the time of somewhere else, right? You want to find the time of somewhere else, any other places, right? So you can go with that. Like you say, like you want to find the time zone of, let's say, like the London or any other places, right? So what you'll do is in this module, you'll say this to be time zone, right? And which time you want, like where this lie actually this lie in the Europe, right? And also you want it from the London. Okay, so you will say the state time of this London will be date time dot now. Okay, and now of this TZ London. Hmm? And then you can just print it things over there, like for the London time zone is the state time, and then of London dot str of time, and then you can pass the same things. Okay, that's done. So like see in London it's 8 11 20, but the time is 5 38 and 40. Okay, so you can make a difference with those things, right? There are a lot of occurrence if you want to find. A lot of things are there in this PYTZ, right? So if you go with the help of this PYTZ, so there you will find a lot of things like the date, time, and everything are there. The class, how many kind of things are having, how many time zones are having, right? How many it is having a time zones. So you will get all that. So all the time zones are this, right? The time zones, country, and all these time zones. We write pytz dot underscore all. Look at all the things over there, right? Similarly, you can take it with the all time zones and like that. You see all the time zones. So these are all the time zones you are having for any particular. So what we have done, we have taken from here, we have taken London from here, like we have written the Europe of London, right? So you can take similarly the things from here, like all the time zones are there, right? What you can do is you can print this so that it will be as a kind of like things, yeah. So these are all the time zones you're having, right? That's nice, right? Also, you can get country time zones, the country names you are having, right? All the country names. So let's say pytz dot entry names. So that will be, and also print this, otherwise it will take again. That is not callable. So like see, EOF is there, and now the things PYZ country dict is okay. Fine. So like you can see, you can get a lot of things from there itself. Okay. So this is like your end of this uh, these date time modules, right? Okay. Now we'll start some exceptional handlings and all those things. Okay. Okay. So exceptional handling are done basically using the try, except, and finally things, right? So exception in Python, like this Python has many built-in, you can say, the exceptions that are raised when your program encounters any error. Okay, like when any error comes with it comes. So when this exception occurs, the Python interpreter stops the current process and it passes to a calling process until it is handled on, right? And if it is not handled, the program will crash, right? That actually happens. So, for example, let us consider a like let's say anyone wants to speak anything. Okay. So, for example, let's say we are taking function A, okay, that calls a function B, which in turn you can say calls function C. So, if an exception occurs in function C, but it is not handled in the C, the exception passes to B and then passes to A, like C. Okay, let's go with the programs, and you will come to understand it more clearly. Okay. So, catching exceptions in Python will be like exceptions can be handled using a try statement. Okay, so the critical operation, you can say, which can raise an exception is placed inside the try clause, right? The code that handles the exception is written in the except clause. Okay, so you can just go, you can handle the exception using the try statement. Okay, that is a clause, and the code that will handle the exceptions written in the clause will be going with the except clause. Okay, so we can like write the things as, let's say, import this is I can take something there. So let's say for x is this random list. Okay. So for x in this random list, let's say try, and we are going to write the entry is, or the element is x, right? And then there will be a variable to take 1 by the integer of x. Null plate. This except, like if an else you can say for handling out the errors. Oops. And you can say like system dot execution info you give to the user, you give for the 0, and also so give this oops, this system, like this failure happens, okay, and you can print the, okay, let's just take it. Okay, let's go with this. So like you see, the element is 1 you are getting, right? For the next element, if you want the you can go with the next element too, like for the next element if you want. So write the next element. Mm, okay, okay, okay. 5. So if you say, now if I take the same thing, right? Now this was a program that ran correctly, right? But what if I say at the starting, if I write something which is a complex, okay, and this, so you will say the element is complex, okay, and this class value error occurred, okay, and the element is, the next element is 2, okay, fine, understood. So if any like if anything comes over which is a error, we'll get something like that, right? Now let's say I'm printing y, so again element minus 1 day, and like this things, because y we have initialized over there, right? That is why it is coming over there, okay. So let's take for x. This is how it works, okay. So we loop through the values of the random list, right? And like if any error is coming over there, okay, if any error is coming, that is being executed by the except statement, right? That is how it works, okay. Okay, let's say, if we go here, and only here if we change on that we want,
Sir,
yes,
hello.
yes, hmm. Yes, one speak, hello, hello, okay, fine. Okay, like these are the things, right? But if you want to catch some specific exceptions, right, like for any specific exception you want to catch for that things, so you can go with that too, okay. Let me give you an explanation for that. Okay, let's say for exceptional handling, let's say, so let's say that x is equals to -1, and if the x, if I say if the x is less than 0, I'll print Yes. So you can see like if the x is less than 0, it is printing. Yeah, yes. Similarly, if I say this is x equals to minus 1, and I say now if the x is less than 0, so I'll say raise an exception and say okay, fine. So just run this indentation errors. So it's saying you an exception, right? Exception, what you get is exactly like no numbers below 0. So like x is equals to minus 1 you are getting, right? X is less than 0. So if it is less than 0, right? And you want to raise an exception, so it is raising an exception on that, right? Like if you want to raise an exception. So to throw like for getting an exception, you use the raise keyword that will be raising an exception on there, right? You can use this raise as to find some errors to write. You can use type error, okay? So you can also instead of raising an exception, you can raise type error or value error, something like that, right? Let's say this x is complex, and if not the type of x is integer, okay? So if the type of x is not an integer, we'll raise an type error, only integers are allowed. So see, a type error will come, will be giving you that in third line that only integers are allowed. Okay, like that. Okay, so you can go with a try, you can go with the except and all those things, right? So we'll going one by one. So this three statements, that is try, except, and finally, this try block let you test a block of code for errors, okay? And this except block let you find the error, or you can say let you handle the errors. And the finally block will execute your code, okay? That is the basic things, basic definition you can say, right? So what you get, okay? So in the try statement, if we go with the try one, let's say this is try, okay? What I say, this try will test a block of code for errors, okay? So let's say this is print x and this is except, print and exception occur. So see, it's printing complex, right? But in case if you write, see, an exception occurred, right? Because you got some error over there. Like if you print something which is not there, you will be getting, obviously you will be getting an error, right? Like this is not defined or something like that. In that case, you can raise an error, right? In that case, you can use this raise one and you can say like this is not defined, right? That you can use. So this is, see, this try runs a block of code and sees whether if it is there any error. So if it is there, if errors are there, that will be handled by the except, okay, exceptions, okay? So try block raises, okay, someone has given something. Raise again. Okay, we'll go in that too. Okay, so since the try block raises an error, okay, the except block will be executed. Okay, and without the block the program will crash and raise an error out. If you just go with this, see, syntax error will come and it will say like unexpected EOF while passing out, right? If we just correct it, you'll be getting some errors, right? And that is what I was saying. Okay, moving on. So this was a kind of one error if you are having, like if you have many errors, like you get type error, name error, and a lot of things, right? What do you do there? Let's say, so this is like try, and we are saying we're printing out the X. Hmm. Also, we'll give now the name error. So in the name error, whatever you want, you can say like X is not defined as a variable. Hmm. You can even write so like print X if you write if X is not defined, a name error is there. So you can write it, it's wrong, or you can say exception occurred. So see, X is there, right? And that is complex actually. But if I say Xi, so Xi is not defined as a variable, right? Xi is not defined as a variable. Like that. You can go with that too. So EO while scanning literal. You can also give syntax errors. If you are getting syntax error. So like your syntax error will be handled out by this. Where it is. Mm, no, literals. Okay, that we're having case in here. Try this. So if you have more than one, you can write it there. Right? You can even use this else. Many a time it comes there. Like if else is there, what? So go with this. So let's say this is try, and you are taking print hello. So if you get any errors, you'll print error. Okay. Now if it is else out there, so if it is no error, tell right. Cool. So see hello and then cool, right? We are getting hello and this cool. So the try block does not generate any errors in this case, right? So if it is error, if there comes any error, so it will print error is there. Okay, because error is not defined. Okay, and finally, as I said, this block, if specified, will execute at some regardless of the blocks. Like if it will go with the raise things. It will go with by raising out the things. If you go with that, right? So let's say this is try. You're saying print x. This is except. So errors come, then error. And finally, try except x. So see, the if the error, what I said, what finally block will do, so it will execute regardless if the try block raises an error or not, right? It will execute, it will not see at all like what is going on, right? So this finally exactly lets you execute your code regardless of the result you are getting with the try and except blocks. It will not bother anything, right? Or whether you are getting any errors or not, it will just execute there, right? So that is finally okay. So this can be useful to close objects and clean up like resources over there, right? Yeah. And like let's say this is try, and you are saying this open something file. So we have sample.txt, and yesterday we created, right? So we want to write something. So this is right. We want to write try except, and go with this except and print. If error comes, error occurred, and the finally. Now let the error comes or not comes. If I have opened the file, I have to close that, even if the error comes. So that I'll be using in this close, because that will not take whether the error is coming or not. It will just close the file, right? That is important. You have to close an file. So see, error occurred, but still the file is closed. If you see your F, that is like the text and all those things. If you just say to read, so like it will say a value error because the input operation on a closed file. The file is being closed. If you see that, okay, that is things. Now Venkat has said to go with the like raise things. So raising an exception, he is asking for it. So see raise how this works. So let's say x is 10, and you are saying if x is greater than 5, then raise an exception, and that exception would be x is greater than 10. You see, it is a correct statement. Like x is greater than 5, I am getting a expression. So, let's say if x is less than 5, raise an expression. So let's say this is 2. Uh, so it is less than 5. We are getting a expression that x is less than 2. Let's say x is less than 5, like that. So the raise keyword is used to just to raise an exception. You can define your things so there, and like what kind of errors you want to define on, you can go with that. Okay, fine. So this is like how you can go with the errors. Just wait for a minute and come. Okay, fine. So like this, you can go with the errors and all those. Okay. So this is basically used for this. Now we'll go to understand the classes. Okay, so we'll complete the classes today. Okay. Syntax error. Sure. Okay. Syntax errors. See, except statement in except what you can do is in the except statement you can give runtime error, you can give type error, you can give name error. These you can give in the except clause. Okay, and let's say pass, so nothing will come. Okay, so these are the things you can write in the except ones, right? You think if you want, you can go with that, and you can raise any of the things over there if you get an error over there, right? Even you can go with the OS errors in that case. OS errors. Now you are saying for the syntax error, you can like syntax error is something which you get manually, right? Which you get it there. So if you write syntax error, let me write it as. So why the syntax error exactly occurs, right? See, syntax errors are like occurred when the parser like detects the incorrect statement. So, like if you say print and let's say this is 0 by 0, so that is zero division error. That's okay. So let's say you take some more brackets over there like that. So there you get some syntax error, right? This arrow indicates like the parser ran into a syntax error, right? So to handle this error, right? To handle this one, you can use this except to go with that. Like let's say print this and right inside this try. And if it comes like any syntax error or something like that, so if it is like that, it's not working on there. type error can be given. No, no. Okay. Mm, Syntax errors, gain some results, division by zero. Okay, fine. Invalid syntax. That's not point to do. Okay, we'll go with this. Let's complete that classes. Otherwise, time will go. Okay. Okay. I'll check it out why it's happening. We'll do it tomorrow. Hmm. So let's start with the class. Okay, Venkat, I'll give you this object. Can you please brush up the functions part? Okay, okay. Functions, sure. Okay, function one you want. See, function is, as I said, that functions are those which are having a program within a program, or you can say a mini program, how it works on. Okay, so like you define any function, you write, like let's say we made a function for welcome, like that. So in that case, you will store in the x, it stores the input in this x, enter a program, or sorry, enter enter a name. Okay, so enter a name, that would be a function, right? If you want to return something, you will have to return x and like that. So whenever you will call this welcome, when I will call this welcome up there, it will come as like enter the name. So you can write your full name, and that will be returning that. Okay. But if you want to do something more with that, right? So you can go with this and shit. So you can go with this too, right? If you like write things like this, like write your full name and then you pass on the things like you only want in the first part. Okay, this you can write down, right? So this is a basic thing you write in the function. Then you in the function you have arguments and like that. Let's say you want to define a name function, yeah, and you will be taking some first name over there. Okay, go with that, and you will be saying that you want this f name plus the whatever you want. Okay, so f name plus let's say hello. Hmm? Okay, so this is your function, right? Now you say name of Chris. That will be Chris hello. Understood? Like that. Or if you want to write it as this. So when I see Chris hello at the name of hi, so that will be hi hello. Right? Cool. Okay. So this works an argument. So arguments are specified after the function name inside the parenthesis. Okay, like that argument works. Similarly, you give parameters there. That is the number of arguments you are giving. Okay. So like in the name, if we modify the name, we say f name and the l name. Right. We first say this f name to be printed first, then give a gap, then go with the l name. Go with this. Okay. We define the name function. So if we run this, it will say two missing required positional arguments, the f name and the l name. In this place, you can also use the type error to handle out the errors. Okay, we can go with that. But we are not going with the errors. We'll be taking it like we'll be giving some first name and we'll be giving the second name. That will be oh sorry, we'll have to define those things. And that will be just printed out. Okay, so you call these things, you can just call by using this. Okay, that is how function works. Okay, I think that will be clear. You can also give some default parameters in function. There are some default parameters. Okay, so default parameters works as, let's say this is your def, and let's say function name is age or class. Okay, and the section is C. Let's say I am in the section plus section. Okay, like that. So let's bring your class. Let's say I am section C. Run this. It says I am in section C. So this is your default parameter. If you write something else out there, that will work. In the case of section, you want to write something else, you can go with something else also, right? Okay, like if you write class of D, so it will be I am in section D, like that. Understood? That is default parameters and like these things. So you can pass a particular list as an argument or any of the things. Let's say This is def, and this is a function of, let's say, companies 0, and taking some bit of companies over there. Okay, there are a bit of companies, and let's say for x in this company, hmm, print this x. Okay, and let's do one thing. If we run this, we'll get some errors. Yeah. So okay, so let's say you come with the companies of com. So you'll be getting IBM, Google, Microsoft, Dell, like that. Okay. So you define anything, like you define your com one, you have another company's list. Let's say this to be Vista, let's say this to be XP, let's say this to be Windows, like that. Okay. And you go writing its companies of com one. So you'll get, okay, let's see capital, no. So Vista XP and Windows. Okay. So this is like you go with the functions, right? You can use return, you have seen. Similarly, there is pass, which actually does nothing. So if you define any function and you say pass, so that actually does nothing. If you see any function, that is main any, that's functions. But if you pass this, it will not do anything. Okay, that is the things there. Okay, now shall I go to this classes now? You can write a function inside a function. Yes, you can go with that too. Writing a function within a function, you are saying. You basically want to write it like this, right? Let's say in the first name, you want it to be uh, see if you just write it as this, so it will take define def of L name. So if we go with L name of, so you can make something. I have made a random one, so L name is not defined. Okay, so that is like if you go with defining a function, you are asking like this. You are asking it's like this. Function is a program within a program, not like a function within a function. Okay, right? So, are you asking this one or anything else you're asking? Okay, yes, correctly, right? This one. So this is not you can do, right? If you wanted to define a function within a, you can define you can define a program within a program in a function, but not a function within a function. So what's the time? Should we start classes tomorrow? I think it's time. Oh, yeah, it's 10:57. If we start, when we start, we'll not get to complete this. Okay, fine. We'll have XML on the time and the email passing.